What up, my devil? Sensei-tutum here with another video for you. Gonna hit you with a quick ETH update. Just actually recorded. I say quick, just recorded. It was way too long. So I'm gonna hit it again, and I'm going to start further in than I had originally. I had zoomed all the way out, show you everything, but I've done enough videos on that, so I'll recap it without showing it. And if you need to go watch an old video, please do, or check out old charts on Twitter. But basically, just real briefly on the biggest macro, we have what I have as a completed WXY to this low, which gave us a good case for a technical low back when this happened. So we were expecting at least a three-wave move off of it, pretty large one at that, and we did get it, right? Or an impulse. And I think at this point, we've been through this as well many times. I just don't see a way to get an impulse out of this. If you're in the impulse camp and you want this to be a 5-wave one, don't turn off the video. This video still will apply to you and potentially help you out as well. But for me, this is a 3-wave, meaning that, yeah, this is an X for a second X, WXY to this low, X to here, putting in a Z. And anybody who listens to me knows that I do not like projecting for a triple zigzag because it's such a low probability event, but they definitely happen more than you might expect. But they're so rare. I generally don't want to call for them until they've already happened. So I'll never project for the future for them, right? Unless, of course, we're way deep into it and it's just staring you right in the face in this instance. But usually I won't want to do it until I've, revisionist history kind of thing, just because it's such a low probability event. But let's just say that this count here could potentially work if this is an impulse. It's just going to be a very deep 2, likely very deep 2 if it does play that way. But all this is still valid, no matter what you think on the biggest macro. But for me, I think there's a good chance that we're going to end up making a new low relative to this. I don't think by a ton. Actually, the first video I ever recorded, and I don't think I released it. I showed it to Sam. I don't think I ever released it. I'm pretty sure I didn't. But was me making a macro video on ETH with like a $46 target. And it's funny because that's kind of become a meme. And, I don't want to say I'm not going to take credit for it, but I was calling for 46 back then. I don't know that I am now or not. Maybe we'll get into some projections in this video. That was a long time ago. Anyway, so whether you're 5-wave or 3-wave, impulse off low up to here, this is pretty clear to me that this is playing this way. That a lot of people have been trying to, TDU students included, have been trying to call this a 3-wave from the high for months and months and months. But it's just not. It's a 5-wave down. And I think the best way for it to play and count is this way, where it's a 1, 2, another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the 3, 4, 5. We have a sharp 2 here, sideways 2 here, 4 within the 3. And then, again, a sharp 2, and this is actually, believe it or not, a sideways style wave 4, just a giant C wave on this flat. But as you see, it makes over a 90% retracement. So it does qualify for alternation because this is a sideways move. It happens to come right back up to this very relevant median line. This isn't a standard pitchfork, and I don't like using non-standard pitchforks all that often. They're great for, basically using them as channels, this is here, but we've got a median with quite a bit of relevance. And the more bounces and moves through a median that you get like this, the more, let's say, value you can place on it. So it will definitely stay on my chart and should be on yours. And it's just off these pivots up here. 1, 2, 3. So let's talk about why this isn't a 3-wave. Of course, if we throw a base trend channel onto the largest one of the impulse down, this white one too, it's pretty useless. I'll do it, show you. Channels aren't always useful. They're great tools, but they're just not always useful. And right there, that's an instance of when they're not useful. Of course, you could have this as a flat, but I've looked at it quite a bit, and I don't have it as that. And I'll show you guys an alternative where this is a flat. Especially you guys, impulse, calling this an impulse will like that count, but it's kind of trash, just like calling that an impulse is trash. No offense. But let's go ahead and channel the second one too and work it out, the 3-wave. So base trend channel on the first one. Break through the base trend channel. I'm sure on volume, don't even need to show you. On the 3 of the 3, classic, perfect. 4 retraces, almost comes back to test this channel. It would have been even better if it did, but we went right to the lips of the Vegas wave and rejected there. And let's see what the measurement is. 382 to the tick, perfectly. And then, of course, we have a nice 5-wave off of it. We'll measure it for equality. It is longer than the 1. It's at about the 1272 of the 1. It's probably a little short for 0 through 3 measurement. Yeah, well, not really. It's right in the hot zone there, almost 618, 0 through 3. So pretty perfect. You know, fibs are rough measurement guides, right? So nice, beautiful 3-wave, right? And then, of course, this 4, for the larger degree 4, we can go ahead and measure that from this too high. 382 to the tick, once again, beautiful. And then we have what turns out to be a pretty short 5, but that's to be expected with such a violent big 3, right? We can go ahead and measure it. Let's measure it for equality. And it's short of, it's not even equal to 1. It's tending toward equality, I would say. It looks pretty similar in magnitude, right? But it's not quite there fib-wise. And, you know, to be expected, again, with such a big 3, does not truncate, which is even better. So pretty clear to me this is a 5-wave down. And what happens after a 5-wave down? 3 up. And then, of course, 5 again. Whether it be a 3 or C following, I would say it'd be a C next for sure. Of course, there is the alternative count where I said you could have this as a flat, which is kind of booty. Let's talk about it. You got the 1, and you could have a flat 2. And then this would be 3, 4, 5. So multiple reasons why we don't like that. Again, because I like this as an impulse. It does not really meet slope guidelines very well. And, or I'm sorry, I called this a flat, but I meant to say a 3, 3, 3 sideways style. No, that wouldn't even work, would it? 3, 3, 3. New low. So, oh, you would have to call, yeah, you would have to call this an impulse. Or diagonal, let's see. 3, 4, diagonal. Yeah, you'd have to call this a diagonal, which is clearly not. A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, C. But if you wanted to call this a diagonal and force your bias on it, you could do that as well. So yeah, this count, I would say, could technically work and be forced on there. So it'd be, but if you did that, you would not observe alternation for the 3 and the 4, 3 and the 2. I'm sorry, the 2 and the 4, because sideways style. But you would have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C. So this is already short for a 5-wave, if we're calling all of this an impulse. So as a component of a big structure, it's already small. So if we're going to call it a sibling to all of this, it's even way more small. So, I mean, it's, like I said earlier, booty. No offense, but you have it there if you want it. In that case, though, if you were calling this a completed 3-wave here, you'd be expecting an impulse off the low or a motive structure off the low. And I would say we certainly do not have that happening. Let's get in there and look at it. So for me, again, 5-wave A to here. Let's see what we've got. So what do we expect, though, if we're not getting 5? We could still get 5 and be corrective, but it does not appear that we're getting the 5. So what kind of correction are we doing? Well, we're going to throw this fib on there before we get into it, because what's a high probability for a wave B? 382 to 50, and we haven't even come close. We're not even at the 236 yet. So let's get in here and look on the lower degree and give this a count. So just as a caution, to give you some caution, when you're putting counts on sideways crap like this at low degree, be prepared to change, right? I actually feel pretty good about it, to be honest with you, better than I thought I would when I first looked at it, because it's kind of just seems obvious, but especially in here, I would say be careful. So what I see is a clear ABC, channels beautifully, ABC. This one was a little bit tricky, right? It reversed on you. You expect the A to be the sharpest of the zigzag, and you don't typically expect a diagonal in an A wave, but in crypto, especially in the alts, you get it all the time, right? So in that case, but we did, standard zigzag aside, because this is clearly not standard, it's kind of like the perfect crypto zigzag, right? Diagonal A that plays out beautifully with the shallow retrace. When, of course, typically, what are you expecting after a leading diagonal? A deep retracement, followed by an extended wave, if it's like a 1, of course. But in crypto, as we know, it's a market trait where we see a diagonal with a shallow retracement, a little tiny zigzag after it, followed by a ba-boom, which we got here. Not super long, but boy, it was violent. So we got our little perfect, I would say, fuckery alt zigzag that you see all the time, and then a clear 5 wave off of it. But we do not create a new low here. No new low. So what does that mean? That means that we have 2 potential options. We have a potential flat playing out, 3, 3, 5, which, of course, you could call a flat in here. But again, for the reasons that we talked about, with this not taking that long to correct all of that big move that we just looked at, and it's not very deep yet, I would say it's unlikely that it is finished correcting all of that crap before we go down again. So I would say, instead of being the C, this would be the 1 of the C, with this 2 playing out. And again, this counts quite nicely. We'll get into it here in a second, but it could just end up being a triangle for our second option, because it's a 3, 3 zigzag zigzag, does not create a new price extreme. We could be playing into a multiple zigzag, and in which case this could end up not breaking down and being a triangle. So that's one thing to keep an eye on. Does this end up being some sort of crazy triangle, which I don't think it will, because I believe this is an impulse down, and I think we got a nice A, B, C, B working on C down now. But if it does, then this would be probably a multiple zigzag structure, and you're looking for a nice long opportunity out of it. I would wait until potentially it breaks out of the triangle along the retest of the the top trend line. You go ahead and draw that on your chart yourself. But this is kind of some fuckery right now. So be careful. I'm expecting to break to the downside, but it could easily be the opposite, break up along the retrace if that does happen, for a 1-to-1 extension of the zig, for a double zigzag. Now, the thing about just doing a double zigzag, and another reason why I like the flat, is a double zigzag. Let's just say it's a triangle and it only breaks to say here. Well, maybe barely, if we're lucky, depending on where E ends, get us to 382. Maybe barely if we're lucky. And I like, for wherever this corrective to finish, to get at least to this area. This is minimum. And a multiple zigzag structure could get us there, but I think what is more likely to get us there is if this is a flat with an impulse playing out now. So something like this. Let's see. Change the color. Let's just make it a bigger. Go ahead and throw a measurement on there. Also of note, where this just is projected out for an impulse down, it just happens to project right to about the 618 for a nice 2 retracement. 618 with this parallel. Look for your divergences, things like that, before you do any sort of trades off of it. Then to the 1618, which would be right about probably where the median line is, which is shown to be significant. Which one is it? This one. 4 there. Something like this. Could very well play out. So, you know, this is very rough. This is a very rough projection. And then this would end up being a B wave. So let's go and get these fibs off of here. This would be the end of the B wave. And then zooming out, we would need a C down. Now, if we're just going high probability projections, which I would say this large scale, going this far down, probably fall short of high probability projections. Let's just go to the 50. It's on there. So the 100 would take us right back down to my projection target of literally the first video I ever recorded. This is 43.96. I had said 46 before. Though, if again, while I told you that this is all relevant to you if you're still in the impulse camp off this low, the 618, which is the next highest probable, most likely projection for a C wave, falls right here at 125. Does not create a new low. We have this major resistance level here. We have another major resistance level here. Though also keep in mind, and then of course we also, if this does make the 50 on this retracement, we have the 236 algo target that you're gonna of course want to pay attention to, that also comes on a resistance level. So not all hope is lost if you're on the impulse team here. And if you're, if you're following what I say and you think that potentially this is a triple zigzag playing out, either way, we're looking for a clean 5. If it's a zigzag, we already have a clean 5 down. The B is going to be fuckery. We know that. Whether this plays out as a multiple zigzag here or this flat that I have drawn plays out, whatever it is, it's going to be fuckery. But once it turns back down, we're going to look for hopefully another impulse. Or, even we could get a diagonal, but we're going to hope for another impulse. And once you see a clear count on an impulse, like this one, where it's coming to an end, you'll look for your divergences, you'll look for your oversold on large time frames, things like that. We'll have a better idea of whether it's a good idea to make, hodl, fill some bags in this area, or if we're coming down to this, this $45, $46 area. But yeah, that's the way I'm looking at ETH. And let me know if you like it. Give a like and a thumbs up. Thanks, boys. Toot out.